I've always found it interesting speculating different ways to deal with Dexter's urges. Harry tried his best to avoid the system, instead creating his own system for his son to follow, but maybe there was a simpler solution, besides a psychiatrist, of course.
That's funny.
Funny enough, Dexter Original Sin unknowingly answers this question in episode 5, F is for F up. Dexter, without knowing, eats 6 pot brownies, and once aware of this, he freaks out. Now I do know this is a retcon, since in Dexter season 2 episode 11, it's stated he's never been high before.
Are you smoking something?
No. I've always been curious to try. Do you have any weed?
But it's not that deep. Although Dex relaxes once Deb keeps him company, just before realizing he was high, he seemed pretty chill. Now in general, Dexter isn't a maniac that loses control, nor is he a man with a short fuse, but he is constantly anxious due to his dark passenger being overwhelming. This mental strain seems to vanish, and instead we see a more laid back, at peace Dexter. So if a couple brownies a day became a part of our boy's routine, would they actually fix his problems? We need to take into account that for a man like Dexter who fights demons every day, he'd have to consume a crazy amount of brownies on a Snoop Dogg level, or more fitting, like Jamaican Dexter. But this really affects 2 things, his work rate and tolerance. Let's say Dex takes 3 brownies in the morning, as opposed to 6, he still has a job to go to. Given the effects we've seen the drug has caused for him, like laughter, relaxation and euphoria, it doesn't seem optimal at a crime scene or when filling out blood reports. Now let's say these are just newbie effects, and an experienced Dexter who spreads out his intake throughout the day could remain calm and focused. How long until he reaches drug insensitivity? Dexter's body and brain would develop a diminished response to the substance, requiring him to take a higher dose to reach the same effects he once felt. So not only would he be unable to limit his usage, but it's inevitable he'd have to increase his dosage. Since we only see him under the influence once, what about the negative side effects he could experience? Anxiety, panic, paranoia, dizziness, the list goes on and on, making this at first reasonable at fair sound too risky. But to play devil's advocate and make today's video more interesting, there are strong benefits to this hypothetical routine other than silencing his urge. For one, blending in with society would be 10 times easier since Dexter would be less self-conscious. Although generally Dexter comes across as charming, he also can be awkward and lacks emotional awareness in some situations, especially when interacting with main characters.
I love you.
I'm so thankful.
I can't help but find it funny how his latter traits become non-existent whenever he interacts with his victims pre-kill.
My husband and I are separated, and our daughter's with him.
So you're single?
I am.
A high Dexter would be loose and less tight, able to breathe and be outside of his head. Connecting generally is a challenge for him, but he thrives the less he alienates himself from humanity. THC has the ability to make him less robotic and at the very least slightly more emotionally receptive. Less obvious than anxiety reduction would be the possibility of a perspective shift. Not like Harry made a huge mistake, I only have autism. More like my urges are not destiny, they are a choice to act on. Despite the dark passenger being intense, there are so many moments where Dexter completely gives in.
Deb was right. Now that I have proof, my urges are beyond my control.
Despite being a child who killed an animal and had violent fantasies, he was still told by his father he was a monster that could never change on multiple occasions.
Keep doing it. I mean, that doctor didn't even see the monster inside you.
A couple brownies won't remove that darkness. It can't. But who's to say it wouldn't weaken the authority of the dark passenger? All Dex really needs is a moment, a second, to crack the illusion that his inner voice isn't the absolute truth. But realizing his life, his law, his code is fragile only proves the ambiguity THC provides to be poison to a man who survives on a rigid moral path. Weighing up the pros and cons of Dexter using cannabis makes it clear that the effects would be temporary. Once his tolerance increases, I think it's fair to say he'd get his usual dark urges regardless, especially since Original Sin shows Dexter more relaxed and not in any way fixed. There isn't any indication that his need to kill is gone, but instead we are shown that for once his guard is down. A guard usually kept up 24/7 to hide his true self. The main takeaway from this episode is that if Deb didn't stick around, Dexter would have probably done something stupid due to being disorganized and careless. He is distracted by her, and the pot brownies are a plot device to show his and his sister's bond. A bond that had the potential to break his need and for a time controlled it. This is just my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, follow the first rule of the code and subscribe. It may seem small to you, but it means the world to me. Have an amazing day.